Hello.
Aurora, it's a mood. You feel me?
Got a second to chat? I'm in the market for a job that'll get me out of Neon. If you need some muscle on your crew, I might be your girl. I think so. I've never been on one before, but I'm a quick learner and I'm trained for combat. I hear the space lanes are getting more dangerous every day. It might be nice to have a tough chick around, right? Man, am I glad to hear that. Thank you so much. So, before we finalize anything, I should probably tell you that I'm a member of the Disciples. If that changes your mind, I get it. Not everybody likes associating with gangs. No, of course not. I wouldn't involve you in any kind of trouble. The gang's leaders know I'm planning to take a contract job off-world. One of Neon's biggest gangs. We mostly operate in Ebside, like the Strikers. Thanks. That's a big relief. You wouldn't be the first person to turn me down when they found out. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to discuss my salary. Loyal service doesn't come free. Not when I have debts to pay off. I'll accept your standard going rate, not a credit less. Okay, as long as you aren't trying to screw me. Don't think I'm desperate or anything, but you do have a point. Okay, fine, I'll take it. Something's better than nothing. Works for me. I'm ready to start whenever. I have a couple things to sort out here, then I'll head to my post. This is going to be fantastic! I've been waiting my entire life to get out of Neon. So long, Captain. I was just starting to think you'd forgotten about me. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Are you sure? I couldn't stand what Neon was turning me into. The city has a way of sucking the life out of you and making you mean. I've seen it happen to lots of people. When I was forced to join the Disciples, I felt the meanness starting to get to me too. And that's what convinced me it was time to go. Not by a long shot. They strong-armed me into it. The gangs in Neon are just as good at taking advantage of people as the megacorps are. Unless you're born into money, your best hope at making a living in Neon is slinging chasm bass or getting into some kind of crime. And if you do manage to wrestle your way up the ladder, there's always someone above you trying to kick you back down. When you live that way long enough, you start losing hope. Some turn to Aurora for a substitute. Those who don't end up just drifting. It's horrible. That doesn't surprise me. Bayou and the megacorps make sure most people see Neon through Aurora-tinted glasses. Ebside, the rough part of town. My family shared a sleep crate with a few other people. It was cramped, but at least we had a roof over our heads. Not everybody in Neon can say the same. There's a lot of homelessness in Ebside. That's the kind of stuff I was happy to leave behind. I didn't have much of a choice. My family owes them a lot of money, and they agreed to let us off the hook for some of it if I'd join the gang and work for them. I couldn't pass that offer up. My parents don't have a lot of income. They opened a shop in Ebbside with the money the Disciples loaned them, but the strikers burned it down. I guess they thought the Disciples were using it for some kind of money laundering. I know I don't look like it, but I'm one of the best brawlers in Neon. The Disciples were looking for a new heavy, and I fit the bill. They'd actually been trying to recruit me for a while before I agreed to join up. I've been on their radar since I knocked out one of their members on the street. Guy should have tried to mug me. He might still have his front teeth, and I might not be in this situation. Of course the strikers had it wrong. My parents weren't doing anything like that. They opened the shop so people in Ebbside would have an affordable place to buy food. They only took a loan from the Disciples. They never did any business with them. The Ebbside Strikers. They're a rival gang of the Disciples. I'm really glad they weren't the ones who asked me to join them. Those guys scare me. It will, if my family can pay them off. When I joined the Disciples, I made sure they knew that I intended to leave as soon as my debt was squared away. But you can't trust the Disciples as far as you can throw them. That's another reason I decided to look for work outside of Neon. Honestly, I don't want to be anywhere near Neon when the last payment goes through. I'm sure the Disciples would just find another way to get me to stay. My family's still there. The Disciples aren't above using people as tools to get what they want. I get that. I won't ask you to make any changes to your business just for me, and I'll still go there with you if I have to. Just maybe try to stay away from Ebbside. We'll both be a lot safer that way. I'm really sorry you have to get wrapped up in this at all. I know it's a messy situation. Almost makes me sorry I ever learned to fight at all. The Disciples might have agreed to let us pay off the debt in some other way if I didn't have something to offer them. Sorry, that's really heavy. Did you have any other questions? So many! I think I've read every tourist guide at the Neon Spaceport. Traveling's always been a dream of mine. Earth's moon is right at the top of my list. I've always been curious about it, but New Atlantis is a really close second. The travel guides make it seem incredible. It sounds like the exact opposite of Neon. I've read a lot about Aquila City. Solomon Coe's always been a hero of mine. I'm fascinated with his legacy. And I found a whole pamphlet about the Sol system recently. Most of it was about Sidonia, but I read a little bit about New Homestead too. I also picked up a brochure on Paradiso right before we met. Talk about luxury. I can't believe a place like that even exists. They say it's the cleanest city in the settled systems, with trees and fresh water everywhere. And they talk about mass too, of course. I've heard that the most brilliant thinkers in the galaxy work there. I bet it's true. It must take a lot to keep a city like New Atlantis running smoothly. The last guide I read also had some pictures of the Nat. It seems amazing. If we ever end up in New Atlantis, the first thing I want to do is write it. I had a storybook that took place there. My mom read it to me before bed every night when I was a kid. I used to fall asleep dreaming about walking on the moon like some old-timey astronaut from Earth. I've always wondered what it would feel like to be there. Thanks. That's really kind of you, Captain. No rush, though. I've waited 20 years to see the settled systems. I can wait a little longer. I learned from a Freestar Navy vet named Talon. He lived on the streets near my parents' place in Ebside. My mom gave him food when he had it to spare. We sort of became friends since he lived in our area. He started teaching me to fight, so I'd be able to defend myself if anyone gave me trouble in Ebside. I couldn't have picked a better teacher. Thugs in Neon talk a big game, but I don't know many with the combat skills to stand up to a Navy vet. He was happy for me. He knows I've always wanted to leave Neon. It was tough to say goodbye. I made him promise he'd be there when I came back to visit. I told him I'd keep a journal while I traveled. So the next time we saw each other, I could show him all the amazing things I've seen. He got hooked on Aurora during the Colony War, so the Navy discharged him. It happens more than you'd think. He tried to get sober while he was teaching me, but I don't think he ever fully kicked the habit. Aurora's no joke. Personally, I'll never touch it. He was pretty pissed. Talon hates gangs. He didn't speak to me for weeks after he saw me patrolling the streets with other disciples. That's one more reason to get out as soon as I can. It was. There's lots of crime in Ebside. I've been in more than one situation where knowing how to throw a good punch probably saved my life. Fighting really isn't my go-to solution, though. Defending yourself is one thing, but I'm not okay with unprovoked violence. Yeah, I did. He always says that combat skills are a tool, not a weapon, and that I should never use them unless I have to. I don't know what Talon saw on the battlefield, but it must have been really bad. He's even more opposed to violence than I am. You have no idea what a relief that is. I was hoping for a captain who was interested in exploring the galaxy rather than picking fights. Thanks for stopping to talk.